welcome to this panel where we are talking about the wind energy supply chain, opportunities, obstacles, and how we overcome them. We have a great panel, and I'm delighted to introduce to you as our first panelist, Mr. Sami Aslanhan from Control-Matic, Chairman of Control-Matic. Sami, welcome. Could I ask you to describe very briefly what your company does?
Thank you so much. Firmamızın ismi Control.
Our company is Control-Matic. We are a company developing automation technologies about electrification. Very recently, we have manufactured Vanega. We have a stand outside, and that is a factory which is producing battery solutions in this region. For the first time, there is such a factory in this region. 750 megawatt hour is our capacity, and by the end of next year, we want to increase this capacity up to 3 gigawatts. We have been allocated land, and we have received incentives, and the first phase will be 3 gigawatt. We will be producing battery solutions and cells. So this is what our company does.
Thank you very much indeed, Sami. That is great. Our next panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is the Vice Chair of ATESH Wind, Mr. Mahmoud Gundogan. Mahmoud, would you like to say very briefly what ATESH do? I think you may have some slides for that, yes?
Yes,
if we could possibly have ATESH's slides, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but that may not be very briefly, okay? We have only once a year, 10 minutes right to talk, so I will use it. Teşekkür ederim. Öncelikle
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank TÜREV, Turkish Association of Wind Energy, for bringing us together every year to refresh our motivation and to update and give a common accord to our vision by which we can create a common understanding. And special thanks to Giles. I had the chance to follow the meeting in Brussels online. So as the country, we have a great feelings for you. We always feel your support as well. And ATESH, I have a presentation without any figures, without any graphs. It's only pictures, so feel assured there is nothing to bore you. So on the way from Çanakkale to Izmir, on the right-hand side, it's a big factory. And here you can see the sea. That's the sea where Çandarlı Port will be established. We have 2 big buildings, one of which manufactures generator, the other manufactures the tower. We laid the foundation first in 2011. In 2013, we manufactured the first tower, then a generator. When we laid the foundation, it was only 1,500 megawatt installed capacity. Today, we have more than 13,000. So our story goes hand in hand with this story of installed wind power capacity of Turkey. There is one point I would like to highlight, which is, of course, we have global manufacturers in the industry, and we really need them. So they are foreign capitals, they are manufacturing globally, but also we are in dire need of local capital. Rather than global capital, domestic capital has yet to be involved in this, and we really suffer from this. And here in this picture you can see it. We have 3,000 megawatt YEKA license, the entire country, and the towers on the left are the first YEKA towers. In 2010, this land was empty, and today in 2023, 3,000 megawatt YEKA license in operation, and this is thanks to our local investors. And on the right hand side you see the first YEKA generators. Therefore, in these weeks nowadays, the first YEKA turbines and generators will be manufactured, and a big part of that 55 points that we need, 35 points out of those 55 will be on the field. And this one, the factory which is close to us, manufactures towers, the other generators. And on the right hand side, on the picture, you see solar panels, and next year hopefully you will see wind panels as well. We will be generating our own energy, and we have a plan to be off-grid. We are also investing in R&D, so it's not going to be only the type or the amount of the products, but also it will be about sustainability and R&D and engineering. This is our new investment, new plant. So far I have talked about what we have done so far. But now I will be talking about the works which we are currently doing, and also I will talk about a joint dream we share. Again in Izmir, on the left-hand side you see the render picture. On the right-hand side you see the actual picture. It has now approach to the final stages of construction, and here we will be making two different types of manufacturing. The first one is one of our clients has a new design of tower, and that client wants to make it very widespread in Europe, so we are making that investment. And the other one, we will be manufacturing the sensitive equipment required for nasals. So what we have done so far, we started in 2011, we manufactured in these factories, and with the money we raised from here, we are making investments. In the years to come, we will be investing, and all of them are about wind energy, nothing else. And this is our new dream. This is Chandarlı Port. Yesterday and today it was highly mentioned. Hamdi is smiling. Hamdi from Borusan is smiling. Gökhan is moderating another session in another hall, so he couldn't make it to come here. But Chandarlı Port is an old project. Even before 2011, it was a big project of the government, but so far, unfortunately, it couldn't be made because of some reasons. But now, upon the initiatives of our association and the industry, now it is now coming back to life. All our dream is to bring a ship, bring a vessel to this port in 3 years. There are so many unknowns here, ambiguities, because the ground is really difficult, but it will be quite an achievement if we can deck a vessel to here in 3 years. And why are we doing all these things? We are doing all these things for our people. These are our workers, our employees. Some of them are here with us. And also we have some partners from other companies as well. We have side industries, our suppliers, our providers, but all these benefits are for our people in our country and the region. On the right hand side you can see a picture of our women volleyball team. We are attaching great importance to female employees since the beginning. And here our colleagues are waving hands to you, and on the right hand side you see our commemoration, our celebration of the centenary of our republic. Thank you. This is it from my side.
That's great, Mahmoud. Thank you very much indeed for all of that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you our third panelist, Mr. Sami Akdoğan, who is the General Manager of IAMOT Electric Motors. Sami, tell us about your company, please. And I think, again, we have some slides. If we could have Sami's slides, please.
Yeah, first, thank you very much for this session. I would like to share my opinion on the supply chain as a local manufacturer. Yes, we have a small presentation. Also, I would like to try to keep it small. I am skipping to Turkey, sorry. Biz Anadolu'da
We are an engine manufacturer in Anatolia, Anatolian Electric Motor. IAMOT is the abbreviation of it. So our main work is electric motors, electric engines, and generators. Can I have the slide shifter? Yes, thank you. Hydro generator, wind generators, electric car engines, and many other types of engines we can manufacture today. And this is our factory, 1.5 million square meters outdoor and 45,000 square meters indoor area we have. This building, this is the first serial manufacturing factory for electric car engines. And the building at the back is the LV Motor Factory, and the other one, we have another one. But before that, what is our vision? In engine and generator, we want Turkey to become the center, the hub for Europe. And I believe that we have this capacity and we have this potential. And I believe that we are very strong because there are lots of companies working in this. We have approximately 250 employees, and in serial manufacturing up to 1.9 megawatt motor production, and up to 25 megawatt we can create generators, but not wind. This is hydro generators. And electric engines. We are talking about renewable energy today, but electric engines, as you can see on the screen, today 28% of all the electricity in the world is consumed by electric engines. Let us assume all the electricity as a pool, and actually electric engines are the taps that are evacuating this pool, liquidifying this pool, rather than filling it in. Therefore, electric engines are really important. Of course, today we are supposed to be talking about obstacles, needs, opportunities, challenges. Back to the topic of today's session, we have a wind generator which we have manufactured in cooperation with Aselsan. Aselsan designed it, and IAMOT made the manufacture, and we also partnered up with Middle East Technical University. This is 4.7 megawatt power, and we also have another work which will be around 6 megawatt engine, and it's a generator. And here I would like to thank Nordex. As a turbine manufacturer, Nordex brought this work to us, and we just put these engines in with a new technology, and comparatively it is quite an efficient engine. And the third one, we are rendering maintenance services for generators, and we can export services, maintenance services to Europe. So this is one of the topics Turkey is really strong. When I was getting prepared for this session, I just brainstormed myself regarding the main points which are the competitive edges for Turkey, and I have 5 headlines. The first one is materials. That matters, and I will tell you something about this. One of the main components of the generators are steel shield, silicon steel, and the capacity in Europe is 1.1 million tons today, and very soon it's going to go up to 1.4 million tons per year. And with electric cars, there is going to be a gap for 700,000, 800,000 gap between the capacity and the need. So sooner or later, I have concerns that we will be depending on China. So I want to talk about what we can do for this. And the other one is about the materials, magnets. Not in the generators, but in engines we have magnets. And we don't want to use magnets because we heavily rely on China. Before this session, I spoke to Madame Öznur from a company, and she told me that Turkey is working on this. We have a study on this, so I'm really delightful to hear that, because if we can do it and if we can reduce our dependence on China on this, that would be great. Today, the main threat is China. In yesterday's sessions and today's sessions, we talked about this. As a manufacturer, I am afraid of China because I have concerns for the future. We need vertical integration to overcome this concern. I mean, today we are receiving raw materials and we are manufacturing the final product. I'm talking about my industry, but China does the same thing. Actually, this is one of the best ways to create a brand, and I believe, secondly, it's an advantage for the cost. And I believe our government should also give us support in terms of vertical integration. Just as an example, in electric car engine, we can come to a position to compete with China if we can establish factories to manufacture. We have some pictures from our factory, the processes for a generator or an engine. So we receive the silicon sheets, the steel, and they are rolled in the factory. The shaft processes, the same process. Here you can see the balance. For example, this balancing machine you see, that's the biggest and fastest balancing machine. 4,600 rounds per minute. It's maybe too much technical for you, but I just tell this to illustrate how strong Turkey is. But our shortcoming is this: China is not honest. They are subsidizing the raw materials. When we compare to generators and engines, despite the fact that we are better in terms of technology, because of the subsidies in raw materials, China is a big threat to us. Therefore, last week, European Union started an investigation about electric car. And this should be the case for all the industries, because this is a very common concern in all industries. So, we also need to follow the latest technologies. We are working with European companies. We have a design company in France which is designing these engines and generators for us, by which we can catch up with the state of the art, both in terms of technology and in terms of design. Turkey is very good at manufacturing, but we need support, and that support comes from Europe, and we want it more. We want it to be very widespread on the basis of academia. And volume. We need volume. We have the capacities, but we need production volumes. We need to increase the volume of our manufacturing. So here we need the manufacturers of the turbines. Because as IMO, why are we in this business? The main reason was YEKDEM, frankly speaking. Because of the tariffs of YEKDEM, the manufacturers came to us. And secondly, we figured it out. It was an opportunity for us that Europe did not have a vertically integrated factory. At the beginning, it seemed as an opportunity for us, but these differences or these differentiations are not enough. We need more, and we need to talk about it. We need to understand what we can do more. And we should also need sustainability of this. as long as we abide by the first three rules, sustainability would follow. I just want to add one thing. I just forgot to mention it. 2 months ago, we went to Germany to buy a generator company. I will not give the name of the company. We wanted to buy the factory, and we were negatively surprised because their manufacturing process was awful, even not comparable to Turkey. And I asked them, why do you want to sell this generator company? And they said, in 7 years, 13 million people retire in Germany, and only 8 million people will replace them. And there is a gap of 4 million people, and they cannot have the labor force. What I mean here, Europe and Turkey should be working as one single entity. They need to join forces. This is what I mean. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Sami. Very interesting. I'm now going to give the floor to somebody very familiar to all of you, of course, that is Arif Gunya of Enercon. But Arif, you're not wearing your Enercon hat for the purposes of this discussion. You're wearing your Tureb hat. Specifically, of course, you are the vice chair in Tureb responsible for industrial affairs. And it's with you wearing that hat that I'd like you to answer this question. Okay, you come from Enercon, but speak on behalf of all of the 5 European, North American wind turbine manufacturers. What guides your sourcing decisions? What guides the decisions, Turkey, Europe, or China?
Thank you very much, Giles. Merhabalar. Öncelikle
Thank you, Giles. So hi. As Tureb, I hope you're having this fun, but also innovative day. There is this hall right next to this one. The youth is there, and I hear that the energy is super high because I hear applauses all the time. But let's go back to the question of Giles. Well, in the last 2 years, and by the way, those who know the previous Turek congresses, it was all about, investments. The discussions were circling around obstacles, challenges, opportunities. We were always talking about the problems that we were facing. But then, in the last 2 years, with the new administration, we started to focus on the reality that wind is such an ecosystem that it's not just about investments. It comes with a huge industry, but it also comes with service needs, repair needs, and it also has various pillars, such as the employment side. So this is a great ecosystem. We just had to remember this fact. So as it is the centennial, we announced that it is the century of the wind, and we hosted related ministries in Izmir so that they could visit the facilities and so that they can learn more about the last 20 years of investments of Turkey. Let me also remind you what we did back in 2020. We went for this industry inventory work. But then, of course, if only we could officially launch or announce the results. But no, studies are ongoing. I hope that by the end of this year, we will share the results of our inventory check. But how is the picture? Well, yes, there are 5 Western turbine producers, and the 20-year ecosystem now results 1.5 billion turnover. And we know that these 5 names are exporting to more than 50 countries, but also the 5 creates more than 30,000 jobs with all the complementary industries and everything. So we have this inventory work going on, but we're also focusing on the last 20 years. We are diving into the details of the investments of the last 20 years in wind, and we will come up with a report. But why are we doing it? Because we want to find ways on how to expand and improve this ecosystem, and I think it's going to serve the entire industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for that, Arif. We look forward very much to reading it, and it's great that you're doing this work. Congratulations, and thank you to everybody in Turab who is contributing to this. Now, the person, of course, most familiar to all of us. I've not brought you in yet. Apologies, Ibrahim. Welcome. Yes, you don't need to tell us about your company or your association. We're all very familiar with what you do. Would you like to offer any general perspectives on what you've heard so far before I then throw the next question to Sami, Mahmoud and Arif, which is about the barriers to investing in new manufacturing capacity? That's your heads up, gentlemen. That's your question that's coming. But Ibrahim, a few observations from you, first of all.
Thank you very much, Giles. Your energy contributes a lot to the whole, to everybody here. So thank you for being here and cooperating all the joint work that we have been conducting in the past few years, especially the few months. It has been a great cooperation and collaboration to work with you and with Wind Europe. Teşekkür ediyorum öncelikle.
Right. Thank you. Now, let me start this way. As Turab, of course, we're following the industry side, and in the last 1.5 years, we realized how developed the industry is, and that's what we're trying to communicate. You might remember a year and a half ago, the Wind Europe had this event, and by the way, unfortunately, there's this Bilbao, and we're going to break it. Back in that event, there was this side event, you might recall, and for that event, we had this group, I think it was a group of 30 to 35 representatives representing the public side as well. Of course, the Ministry of Energy is following the wind industry. They're trying to come up with strategies so that they can offer further support. There were representatives from related ministries, and we, of course, kindly asked for the participation from the presidency side as well, but participation from the Ministry of Industry side was low, but in Bilbao, we had some series of visits and meetings. We met with manufacturers, we met with big names, but the investment office of the presidency representative stopped all of a sudden, turned to me and said, Mr. Ibrahim, first day is over, second day is almost over. This is not an energy expo, this is an industry expo, he said. And by the way, Mr. Mustafa Varang, the Minister of Industry, he was the minister. And then he said he was supposed to be here. Then okay, we ended that day. Then we got back to the hotel, and then we said there is another event coming up. You know, we know about Wind Europe annual events and everything, and you know what Hamburg does? In every 2 years, they host this event, and then we said, okay, this is not the group that we're taking to Hamburg. And after that one, first, we decided that we should, you know, have a closer relationship with the Ministry of Industry. And apart from all the incentives, all the projects, etc., we need to do more. And we need representation. So that was the day we started our plans. And in early June, it was early June, then that delegation, that group turned into a political representation. Ministry of Industry, high executives, but also Ministry of Energy. Mr. Deputy Minister also joined the delegation, and he acted like an anchor. Mr. Iskender, it was again a group of 30 to 35, right? So then we traveled to Izmir, visited all the important facilities, and that was groundbreaking because transformation was kick-started. And I think maybe like 15 days later, we got a meeting with the Ministry of Industry. We told him about the infrastructure, we informed him about the future potential, and then we said, unfortunately, our participation to the Bilbao was as such, but this should change. This is how the delegation should be. So we formed the delegation this time, and from now on, the representation will be very different. And they promised, ministers also promised that they will participate too. So at the end of September, we will have a special plane allocated for this group. They traveled to Hamburg. And together with Mr. Minister, we spent 1.5 days. The delegation stayed there for 4 days. And the experience after those 4 days and all the efforts after that trip was tremendous. Are you aware of the audience? We are joined by ministers, by the representatives of EPDK. Again, Mr. Varank, head of the National Assembly Energy Commission, GMs, representatives. Are you aware of the crowd? We are here as the leaders to discuss the future of wind. Are you aware of the interest? Are you aware of the attention? This is great. It's been great 2 days, and we had some series of meetings that we further met with representatives and executives. So this is a matter of focus now. It is high time we focused on Çandarlı. It is high time we carried out all the necessary works for clusters, OEMs, local producers, vendors. It is high time we set our eyes on the horizon, on the future. So this Congress is a great kickstart for all that we have to do. And let me share my observations about the last 2 days. Registrations went beyond 4,000. We thought it would be like a tiny expo area, a foyer area, but it turned out to be something way larger than that. Mr. Varank was here until early afternoon. Now look at the hall. We still have a good audience here. This shows us that the interest is here. All stakeholders are more than ready to invest, ready to put their hands under the rock. And anyone who is not a stakeholder yet, they want to be a stakeholder, and they are ready to do whatever it takes. But you also invited our ministers, so the next time we're in Bilbao, we'll take another step. We will be there, we will be representing, we will bring the investors, and we will let them know all about installation, assembly, after services like repair, maintenance. There will be a great private sector representation, and next year, God willing, the picture will change in Hamburg. We had a pavilion, we had a booth of 75 square meters, but I think they're going to be like a Turkey pavilion. We will have a larger booth, a better representation, so that we can let everyone know what Turkey is doing. We want to make sure that everyone knows we are more than eager to invest. We want to let them know that our industrialists want to cooperate. So we can have cooperation in energy security because we want to do it, and we want to deepen our relations in the industry side. So, I mean, this is not a story of the last 2 days, but like the last 1.5 years. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed. Now, Sami Aslanhan, you're building new factories to make your batteries. You want to get up to 3 gigawatts capacity, if I understood you correctly from what you said earlier. What are the key factors in your decisions, go, no go, about whether and when and where you build your new factories?
Güzel soru tabii ki. O zaman baktığımızda hani bütün göstergeler bizim bu
I mean, all parameters advise that we shouldn't build this factory because the customs legislation is not eligible for battery production. I mean, let that alone, it's not even that good with component production. And goods coming from Far East is not taxed and customs. But also interest rates skyrocketed and there is a monetary tightening going on. So how to arrange financing side of it, how to invest. Of course, these are critical challenges, but there are still legislation challenges on batteries, on connection components. We need the definition and the regulation side, and they would all take time. So back then, we knew there were a lot of shortcomings and gaps, but we were experienced. We knew all the grid codes and everything. And when you apply that all the engineering models, then you will come up with the wind or solar capacity of a specific district. I mean, you cannot have more wind because it's not constant. Wind or solar is not a primary source. And after a certain capacity, you cannot even connect another plant. And without storage, the operation could not go on. But then, okay, there's an engineering problem going on here. And the best possible solution would be investing in battery and storage capabilities and technologies. So looking at the global picture, everyone wants to invest in the wind, in the solar. Then, I mean, those investments will come to a certain maturity. They will, fill their whole capacity, and they will need more. And that is storing, that is battery capability. So this is how we read the picture. Then we've made some series of decisions, and it wasn't engineering issue alone. You would also need financial literacy. You would need all the details and everything. But if it was all limited to the fact that taxes would be high in customs, yes, we couldn't realize the project.
Thank you very much, Sami. Mahmoud, you've also talked about the challenges in raising capital, especially here in Turkey. Would you like to elaborate on that, reflecting also on what Sami has just said on the finance challenge?
Şimdi 2 gündür
For the last 2 days, I mean, we've been repainting a picture that we already know. What is the reality? This world needs turbines. This world needs renewable energy resources. This world needs a lot more than what is already installed, and the world needs it in a shorter amount of time. But there are huge risks also. There are political risks. There is a war going on in the southeast. There is a war going on in the north. Supply chain is disrupted. There are financing issues. Interest rates are high and continues to rise. So we need incredible investments, but you have all the reasons for why you shouldn't invest. So looking at such a picture, I think what's needed the most is courage. You don't need money. You need bravery. You don't need just this or that location. Sure, you need technology, but you also need to be brave. So, okay, there are challenges in all corners, but why are we fighting this battle if we are surrounded by challenges? We also know the fact that OEMs are in loss for the last 7 to 8 years. We work harder, but we are challenged worse. And we fight worse battles, right? This is the case, this is the reality. But, I mean, I've been following Turex in the last 8 years. No one left the industry. I mean, if there were like position changes, it was just limited to a position change. People remain in the industry. You never left, Giles. You never wanted to quit. I mean, when you saw people quit, they just quit because they just wanted to work for another company. But that is something interesting. Are we that desperate? No, we're not. We can always invest to something else. We can always change our position. So what do we need? One, bravery. The second thing, responsibility. We are all responsible for the future of this planet. You cannot escape your responsibility. So, okay, I said we need courage for investments, sure, but what else do we need? We need to know how to assume responsibilities. We need to let the young minds join the game. You know, right next to this hall, there is a career fest going on. Do you know how valuable it is? Especially for the young minds? Because youngs are the first who register to such congresses and events. So what do we need the most? We need people. Because we cannot keep up. We cannot do everything on our own. So we need young minds. They need to feel and realize that they are responsible of the world's future. I mean, let's not lose our focus in daily issues. So what was my list? We need courage. We need responsibilities. We need people. What else? Cooperation. We need lots and lots of cooperation. We don't have one competition. We don't have a competition, right? I mean, no other tower manufacturing company is a sole rival competition. We are on the same boat. We need associations, unions, ministries. We need everyone on the same boat. So we also need cooperation. Okay. Interests and benefits might differ from institution and institution. Then how to cooperate? By transparency. If all institutions, colleagues, us, if we can work in a transparent fashion, then this cooperation won't bring anything bad, because we all experienced, right? I talked about Borusan, let me also refer to TPI, and when we do business, it's all through cooperation with all clients. One of the biggest OEMs outsourced its generators. How? Because there is mutual trust. But then, of course, we need money. But money is out there. We can find a way to find money. This year, interest rate might be 10%. Next year, it'll be 6. After that, it might be 15. And then you might go bankrupt. Okay, this is a part of the business world. But if you don't have the first 4 values, only money cannot bring you success. You would need the first 4 and then money. And don't get lost in those Excel files. So, I mean, the feasibility, the due diligence, return of investment in 7 years, 8 years, change one figure, okay, it'll cost you 5 additional years. Yes, calculations, we need it, but who could project or calculate that Europe will suffer this bad because of natural gas, right? That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mahmoud. So, courage, responsibility, human resources, cooperation. Sami Akdoğan, what else is needed to get those factory investments over the line?
Aslında
I think I briefly answered that. After your speech, after your presentation yesterday, now we have a bigger appetite, you know, the perspective until 2030. That was mouth-watering. So, of course, we know our strengths and our weaknesses, and we were on the motor side, but then we said, okay, it's time we start our activities on the production, on the manufacturing side as well, because there's a huge import gap in Turkey in terms of energy, but the potential and the strength in manufacturing is so huge that we knew we were making the right decision. It is a challenge to be in the Inner Anatolia. There are sometimes challenges in the human resources. But yes, young minds, we need the new generation to come in and take control. And we know the reality. Their engineering capabilities are great, but we advised them to pick the company very meticulously. We told them to make sure that the company that they want to work for has manufacturing capabilities. And the list of Mr. Mahmoud is just the beginning. But I don't want to keep my answer too long. Both the chairman and us say the same thing. This is not about money. This is about honor and pride. You know, this is how Turkish people see it. Money should always come later. Our greatest motivation is to take pride in what we do.
Indeed, Sami. Arif, one thing, please, that dictates whether an Enercon or a Nordex or one of the other OEMs will build a big new factory in Turkey.
Giles teşekkür ederim ama öncelikle bir Mahmut Bey'in güzel konuşmasına bir değinmek istiyorum.
Thank you, but before giving my answer, I would like to touch upon the speech of Mahmoud because he almost told everything I wanted to talk. And in an industry meeting, I was not expecting such a romantic conversation because we are talking about electricity, heavy industry, steel, but I understand we are all people of romance because we are still continuing in this sector because we love it. Giles, you remember on the 25th of October in European Parliament, we talked about inclusion of Turkish industry into European industry. And at that time, there were 3 points highlighted. Why wind energy? Why wind power? Actually, 18 to 20 years ago, when we first started, I clearly remember there was a panel, and it was not a panel dedicated to wind. It was just a panel in which we could speak wind. And I remember that energy is a serious job. And today, after 20 years, we have a Congress on wind, which is attended by more than 4,000 people, only for wind energy. And this clearly tells us why wind energy is needed. As we highlighted in Brussels, energy independence and supply security. On the other side, the job creation power led by wind energy, its industry, all its ecosystem, and as Mahmoud already said, against the climate change, it is useful in order to inherit a clean world to the next generations. We have this responsibility. There are lots of challenges today in front of the manufacturers, and we talked about them vis-a-vis the threats coming from the Far East, what we can do. We talked about what we can do about funding and finance. And as a turbine manufacturer, having full confidence in Turkey, our expectation is continuation and sustainability of the domestic market. Every year it should have quite a big volume because it's really important for the industrialists. And Giles, you mentioned something yesterday and today. In the 8 years to come, there will be 300 gigawatt addition to the existing installed capacity in Europe, which shows that we need to continue. And also, the Central Asia, Middle East, North Africa, these are close geographies, and from here, from Turkey, we can address them. We can approach them. 8 to 100 gigawatt potential we see there that can emerge. And therefore, one of the most important factors to continue with Turkey, more than 20 years, we have a history, we have a story of industry here, and Mahmoud Bey made a very good point. Qualified labor force. You want to establish a factory, you rely on automation, but human is still a sine qua non for you. It is indispensable, and with the qualified labor for Turkey is the right place. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Arif. Ladies and gentlemen, before we thank our fantastic panelists, I would like to ask you all to join me in a bit of a personal indulgence. I am one of a number of people at this event who sadly do not understand the language of Orhan Pamuk. And I have relied, as have many others, on the great services of the two people who've spent the last 2 days sitting in the boxes over there. Please join me in thanking the interpreters. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please thank our fantastic panelists for a truly inspiring discussion. Well done, gentlemen.
Valla ben ne diyeyim? Ben
I thought I was a host, but the real master of the ceremony is Giles Dixon. Probably next year, Ibrahim Bey, you will just give this duty to Giles to host these sessions. I really admire his energy. This is the second day, we are all tired. He is also tired. He gave lectures, he gave conferences, and 2 times in the opening sessions he delivered speeches, but still he has full of energy. I really admire you. Thank you. You're great. You're great. For such a long time, we have not seen such a good moderation. I'm really inspired from you. Thank you. And Mr. Ibrahim Erdem, actually, you are a panelist, but here, who is going to give the plaque? Ebru Hanım, yes. Thank you very much for your kindness. What makes it beautiful is a woman. Yes, all the gentlemen here are handsome, but women are like flowers. You just added color to this black and white picture. Thank you. And Ebru will be presenting these plaques to our moderator, Mr. Giles Dixon, maybe together.
fotoğraf karesinde Evet, çok teşekkür ediyoruz Sayın Giles Dixon'a. Tabii we have a family photo after this bestowing the plaques. Şimdi efendim sağ olsunlar Arif Günyar, TÜREP Sanayi'den sorumlu başkan yardımcımız. Onun da katkıları, emekleri çok büyüktü. Kendisine de çok çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Ve Ateş Wind Power Yönetim Kurulu Başkan Yardımcımız bizlere farklı bir perspektif sundular. Mahmut Güldoğan'a çok çok teşekkürler. Eksik olmasınlar. Ve tabii ki Kontrolmatik Yönetim Kurulu Başkanı Sayın Sami Aslanhan'a da çok çok teşekkür ediyoruz. AEMOT Genel Müdürü Sayın Sami Akdoğan'a da ayrıca değerli katkılar için teşekkür ediyoruz. Tabii Sami Aslanhan çok şanslı. Her fotoğraf karesinde belki yüzü küçük. Peki. Çok teşekkürler. Şimdi bunu bir ölümsüzleştirelim. Bu bölümün fotoğraf karesiyle birlikte. Sonra da son oturuma gideceğiz ama galiba bir ara vereceğiz artık. Yani bir 10 dakika başkanım müsaadenizle, yani ne dersiniz bilmiyorum ama böyle bu müthiş. Yani rüzgar gibi geçti bu bölüm.